Do you ever wonder when the actual correct time to plant your garden is? It's a question that I get all the time, and truly there's not really an answer. It depends on your climate, on your weather, and all other things mixed together. So there is not truly a perfect time to plant your garden, but there is a perfect timing for warm weather crops, and that is after all danger of frost has passed. And so if you're in a warm zone like me here in zone 9, usually that is in April. But there's a lot of years when sometimes that's in March. There's other years where it's been in February. It just truly depends on the year. But this year in particular, it's been raining a lot, and we've had some really cold days and we've had some warm days. And so I've been holding off on planting mostly everything when it comes to my warm weather crops, because I didn't want to get everything in the ground and then have it damaged by a frost or by a storm. But right now here we're in April and the weather's starting to warm up, and I don't see any more storms in the forecast. And there shouldn't be any more nights where we have any low temperatures. And so I'm finally getting everything ready to get planted. And so if you're also in zone 9, here are a few things that I would be working on right now. So the very first thing is that if you don't already have your garden beds worked up, I would begin there. A couple weekends back, my husband helped me and we got all the weeds pulled out of all my garden beds, and then we started on my long rows. I have a little bit more weeding to do out there, but for the most part, the garden beds are ready. And then if you need to work up the soil to make it a little bit softer, be sure to do that. And then if you have any amending that needs to be done, such as adding compost or any kind of other bagged amendment to just give your soil a little bit more nutrients, before planting is a great time to do that. And then start figuring out what you want to plant. And so right now is the time for warm weather crops. And so you don't want to plant any cool weather crops at this point, such as like your broccoli and cauliflower, kale. Those things are all cool weather crops. And so right now you want to be focusing on just warm weather crops. So your squashes, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, okra, there's more out there. I do have all of the cool and warm season crops listed here in my complete zone 9 vegetable gardening guide. So that will be below if you're interested. And then you need to choose whether or not you're going to plant by seed or plant things as transplants. And I always like to do a combination of both. I have some transplants here that I've had under the grow light inside, so I'm going to get those planted. And then I also have seeds that I'm going to get in the ground. And the way that I determine what I'm going to transplant and what I'm going to direct sow by seed is based on the vegetable's level of root disturbance. And what I mean by that is there are certain vegetables that do not like their roots disturbed, so they should always be planted by seed. A few of those include carrots, radishes, baby mixed lettuce, which those are cool season crops. There's probably some warm weather crops that aren't coming to my mind right now. And then there's vegetables that tolerate a little bit of root disturbance, but you should definitely handle them with care. And those include your squashes and cucumbers. So if you buy those as transplants, which you can, you just need to be really careful when you transplant and don't break up the roots. I know it's common to think you should pull the transplant out of its little container and then break up those roots and then plant it, but you definitely don't want to do that with certain vegetables. But then there's vegetables that should always be transplanted, like your tomatoes and peppers. They don't mind their roots disturbed, and they are not going to really grow well if you just put the seeds directly into your garden bed. And so I know that's a lot to take in. So that's one of the things I also have here in my complete zone 9 vegetable gardening guide is all the vegetables and whether or not they should be transplanted, handled with care, or directly sown by seed. So that link will be in the description. So once you get your transplants and then you have your seeds, then it's always nice to plant in a garden bed that is well watered first, or if you have any rain in the forecast and you can plan your planting to be the day after the rain, that's also really nice. But it's nice to have your garden beds be nice and moist and then plant your seeds or plant your transplants, and then be sure to water them in well after, and then keep the soil moist. Don't let it dry out. You can probably see from the video that it's kind of an overcast, cloudy day, and so it's a perfect day for transplanting, which is why I chose today. I know that the weather is going to be warm enough for the next few weeks. I don't have to worry about any unexpected frost, and it's a nice overcast day, which is great for transplanting because it helps prevent transplant shock. So if you happen to have an overcast day, that's a perfect day for planting. A couple other things you could be working on in your garden is just continuing to take care of your garden, because you may already have things planted, and so there's lots of other little tasks to take care of, such as frequently weeding. Maybe you don't have your garden set up yet on an irrigation system. That's a great tip, because it might be cool enough right now where you don't really mind being out in the garden and watering, but as the summer comes and it gets hotter and hotter, it's a chore that is not really my favorite. I do not like to be out here on 100+ degree days watering or having to get up really early, especially now with our little baby boy. It's a lot harder to get out into the garden, and so it's nice having everything set up on irrigation and a timer so I don't have to worry about watering. So that could be something that you work on. And then as your plants do start producing, make sure you harvest frequently. That keeps your plants productive. And other than that, those are probably all of my tips and tasks for April. But if you have not got your garden planted or even thought about your garden, don't worry, you are not behind. You have plenty of time, especially if you're in a long growing season. There's plenty of time to still get your warm vegetables in the ground. So take the time to figure out what you'd like to grow, get your garden area prepped, and then consider still planting your garden because you're not behind. And if you're trying to figure out what to plant, my favorite vegetable of all time, or truly it's a fruit, is the tomato. Tomatoes fresh off the vine are so much better than the store, and so it's something I will never ever quit having in my garden. It's by far our most favorite crop. And one of the important things when it comes to planting tomatoes is making sure you give them plenty of room to grow. And so if you head to this video next, I talk all about how far apart to space your tomato plants for a healthy crop. And so head to that video next and I'll see you there.